been a quite steady growing journey, I would say. Of course, with some challenges. As you know, maybe if I take you back into time, Agaciro Development Fund as a sovereign wealth fund is quite different from other sovereign wealth funds in the sense that we don't have any income from natural resources like gold, diamond, gas, or other, like other sovereign wealth funds. Our main source of income used to be voluntary contributions from the private and public sector, diaspora, Friends of Rwanda. And this culminated in April 2020, where we were at an average of $300,000 per month. And this is at a time when it was phased out. So while still the contributions were growing, it was phased out, so requesting from us to see how we could find alternative sources of income. In addition to the fact that this was done in April, when we were confronted with COVID-19. But despite that, we managed to consolidate, and I think we remained on track. In addition to the fact that we became shareholder through the journey, starting 2018 in different companies. And now, today, we are a shareholder in 29 companies. Also, this was quite a challenge because when the fund was set up, it was not set up as a holding company. But now, as we speak, we are acting as a holding company with 29 subsidiary companies. One of the challenges here was really to see how can we harmonize this portfolio, how do you supervise them, how do you monitor them, and how do you maximize the value of the shareholding we have in these companies. But now after 10 years, I can say, despite the few challenges, we have quite satisfactory results, and we have a quite satisfactory, what we call in our terms, assets under management. So yes, challenging, but on the other side, very satisfactory. And I would say the only challenge we have now is to keep up with what we have done in the past. I think it's important. We have Rwanda Sovereign Wealth Fund, but the main name is Agaciro Development Fund, with really a focus and emphasis on Agaciro. Why was this fund set up? Just to show that self-reliance is important for Rwandans, but also in general. But the context at the time really required for a strong symbol, and one of the strong symbols was really the name Agaciro, be it dignity, self-reliance, self-worth. If you don't have that, you don't have a vision. So I would say the dignity that Agaciro is really the engine for everything. And just as a side comment, when I discuss with my colleagues from other countries, they're always interested in knowing where does this name come from? And then we have very fascinating discussions. Some are called Belgian Federal and Participation Company, others are Ireland Strategic Fund, or BPI France, or Ghana Infrastructure Fund. But for Rwanda, it's Agaciro Development Fund. And it's only after we have that discussion that then they come to how are your financials, what are your assets under management. So it's really important, the Agaciro concept and the Agaciro name. As you may know, when the fund was set up, the mandate was threefold. First of all, to be a buffer in case of economic shocks. 2, to contribute to socio-economic development of the country. And 3, to save for future generations. So what we are doing now to contribute to socio-economic development fund of the country is to really see in the sectors where we are investing in and how it contributes to the economy of the country. And if you look through our portfolio, you will notice that we are in all the sectors. We are sector agnostic. We are in agriculture, we are in financial services, ICT, renewable energy, you name it, and it is there. If we take the situation of the moment now, As you said, we are 10 years young. I will not say 10 years old. So the situation from when this fund was set up and the current situation is completely different. As I mentioned, the contributions have been phased out. We are shareholder in 29 companies. So we really need to reposition ourselves. And what we have done is, in the meantime, except for investments in term deposits, treasury bonds, what we call fixed income, we are just working on our strategic plan just to determine, do we still have the appropriate structure? Do we still have the right approach? And how do we position ourselves from now, in 5 years and in 10 years, and how do we get there? And this will also determine on, do we have key sectors where we will invest in, or will we just remain general investing throughout the whole Rwandan economy? So if you would ask me, what are your key sectors now for the moment, I would say we are sector agnostic, but this can change for the future. The government, of course, is the sole shareholder of Agaciro Development Fund, so there must be really an interaction and a flow of information, be it upwards and downwards. And we also report on a quarterly basis to the government. The international partners, we are a proud member of the International Forum of Sovereign Wealth Funds, which is a forum where most sovereign wealth funds in the world are a member, and where we have really stringent rules on transparency, on independency, and on accountability. So that's how we interact with most of our colleagues, be it in Europe, be it in North, South America, be it in Africa, be it in Asia. So that's how we interact with international partners. And the private sector really, most of the companies where we are shareholder, you see someone from the private sector being a partner or co-shareholder, or we keep on interacting on what are the possibilities in the market, where can we be of an added value, or where can we support these companies, be it financially or be it as a guarantor. I was very lucky when I took over in this seat. I really find a competent team in place, and some bases have been laid by the former CEO and also the team that was in place. And the really main strong basis that was there was prudency. So the investments were very prudent, with liquidity in place. I mentioned term deposits, treasury bonds. So even if slightly the interest was reduced on these investments, it remained quite satisfactory to keep the fund at the same level. And in addition to that, we didn't make any risky investment or high risk investment, which made that really, when you see the financial results over the years, yes, there was a small dip, but it remained quite constant. So we cannot really complain about what happened during COVID. Of course, without COVID, we would have had better results, but also what was there was really satisfactory. Today, as we speak, of course, unaudited, we are at 284 United States dollars, or the equivalent in United States dollars. Well, we would like to close the year 2023 at 300, and then take 300 as a basis just to grow at least to 1 billion in 10 years. First of all, we have an external auditor. Of course, the external auditor is notified to the Auditor General. That's one. Two, we have our financials that we publish quarterly on our website, and that we also share with the government through the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. And we also publish them. So if you go on the website, you will see our annual report and you will see our financials. And again, Rwanda is Agaciro Development Fund, is a Rwandan People's Fund, meaning whoever contributed can every day, whenever he wants, call us, walk in, write to us and ask for accountability. What are you doing? What did you do? What happened? So we are there, our door is open 24/7 for questions, for suggestions, for proposals, but also for complaints if there are any. This is something we are working on because everybody, I think there are 2 to 3 things everybody is talking about when you talk about investment, fund management. First of all, its impact. 2, we have the ESG, and 3, we have the digital era. So on all this, again, as I mentioned, 2012 and 2023 is completely different. So this is something that we really want to put explicitly in our strategic plan. What is our impact? How do you measure the impact? What is our green agenda? What is our ESG? How do we adapt ourselves to the digital era, and instead of staying in hard copies and really neglecting the, for example, EI? So how do you anticipate? So this is really something we are working on, and which will be explicit in our strategic plan. Yes, we have it on table. So I think even if you arrived, you didn't see a receptionist. Exactly. So we are trying to go paperless as a starting point. And from that, really, we're trying to embrace the digitalization. And of course, we'll need the help from external parties. But for us, it's clear we need to embrace this. And we have already started. The diaspora played a big role when the fund was launched, and they really responded to it massively. When the contributions were phased out, diaspora remained only with the option of the remittances that we know through the normal channel. But we are thinking about how can you evolve them. I know there are a lot of initiatives around diaspora. How can diaspora contribute to the socioeconomic development, to the boosting of economy of their home countries? And each time we are involved, but also as Agaciro on its own, we are thinking about how can it be our contributions, what can we do to involve them, and differently from what happened in the past, because as I said, voluntary contributions. I think this time we need to put something as return. So you're a diaspora, you contribute something, but in return, this is what you will get, or this is what your contribution will be used for. But this is something we are thinking about. What happened is in 2018, the government, still with the aim of making the fund strong and big and growing, they transferred some of their shareholding in different companies to Agaciro. So the majority of our companies, we inherited them from the government. There are a few where we, from ourselves, made the investment. One of them, for example, is Rwanda Fertilizer Company, from which government and ourselves are expecting a lot. But as part, again, of the strategic plan is to say, this is our portfolio company, let's map it. Which are the companies we want to keep? Which are the companies we want to sell? And which companies do we want to open up to strategic or other investors? And again, as I mentioned, also decide on what will we focus when we decide to invest in local companies. Until now, we've managed to monitor the companies. Really, we insist on corporate governance, shareholder, board of directors, management, having healthy financials. Some of them We've also supported them with financial support or as a guarantor, or having somebody from Agaciro just go and sit there for months in the finance department or as acting CEO, just to make sure these companies, at least they perform to a satisfactory level. And also when we do investment, really it goes through a thorough assessment process. We have our investment department. When our investment department is convinced, it goes to the management. When the management is convinced, it goes to the board investment committee. And if the board investment committee is convinced, then it goes to the full board. And only then we just proceed with the investment. So really, to make a bad investment, it's not excluded, but you see that it goes really through a whole process where again, we are very aware that we are managing Rwanda's people's money. So it's not that we wake up and we just decide tomorrow we will do this. For example, the Rwanda Fertilizer Company, we are partnering with OCP, which is a Moroccan company, worldwide leader in fertilizers. Africa Improved Food, where we have DSM, making fortified blended food. What we are trying to do is really moving from the position in which we were in a comfort zone with the contributions. Money, in any case, was coming in, so you put it in a safe place. We are trying to move to a more calculated risk, where we try to bring in really partners, international partners, to see what we can develop together with them. I would not exclude it, but it would be under another form. As I said, the context 2012 is different from the current context. What should be done, if ever it happens that we are open again to contributions, is really to say, you contribute, but this is what will happen with your contribution. And it happens in consultation, so that people don't keep on asking, but what happened with our contributions? So it might not be excluded, but it should be really an innovative and creative way of attracting contributions from Rwandans and having something to put in place to say, you contributed, and this is the result of your contribution. First of all, and this is concrete.
What do you have as priority?
Priority is the deep diving. We call it deep diving into our portfolios. As I said, we have 29 participations, just to map them and say, this is a good investment, or just to use the word, this is a cash cow, let's keep it. Or this has a potential, let's turn it around and keep it, or let's turn it around and sell. Or really, this one, it doesn't really fit in what we want to do, just sell it right away. This is urgent and quite concrete for the moment, and we were working on that. Second is the legal structure of Agaciro. Again, as you know, when the fund was launched, massive response, a structure had to be put in place to make sure everything was in a formal way. So now, 10 years later, is this legal structure still the most appropriate structure? So we are also working on that. And three, we are working on, as I said, on our strategy. Where do we stand in 2023? Where do we want to be in 2025, 5 years later, and 10 years later? And how do we get there? So we are working on that together with the stakeholders, be it government or private stakeholders, and the board, of course. And we hope by the end of August to be able to come out and to say, look, this is now our new strategy, this is where we are heading, and this is how we will get there. So of course there are some ideas, but as I said, it's still in the process. But we'll be very happy to share it with you once this are really concrete and once we all agree on that. I think that the message is multiple, but the first one is a message of gratitude, because without them, it would not have been possible. Of course, the driving force remain His Excellency, Mr. Paul Kagame, the President, but also the Rwandans. They responded massively, and thanks for them, we managed to grow. Contributions were about $50 million. The whole assets under management now we are at 284. And still, we want to grow and we are ambitious. That's one. Two, the money which was entrusted to the former management and to the current management has been managed in a prudent way. Sometimes people ask me, but what happened with our money? My 50,000, my 100,000 Rwanda francs, the money is there, it's generating additional money, and it will keep on generating additional money. Three, Agaciro is very important. It's not a loose word, it's a very important concept. And as I said, without Agaciro, there's no vision, there's no way forward. So let's keep that Agaciro in mind and really work around that Agaciro, which is not only very important for Rwanda, but even beyond the borders. That Agaciro concept has its meaning, and we can be proud of that. Well, I would say for me it's a privilege to be able to manage Rwanda's people money. As you know, to entrust someone with your money, it means trust. So me, I can only be humbled. And as I said, I'm really ambitious up to the name of Agaciro. And let's talk again in 3 months when we can present our new strategy.